Hi, I'm Mary Valamides, and I'm going to review with you the Grade 3 STAAR math test that was recently released. If you're a kindergarten, first grade, or second grade teacher, the reason why I've made this available to you so that you could see how the third graders are tested and how what you do in your grade level is so important in setting the foundation for Grade 3. As you watch this video, you might want to double click on the icon so that you could see the view in a much larger screen so you're able to see the smaller print on the items we're going to be going over. At any time, you might want to press pause at the bottom of the screen so that you can read over the items more carefully, and then press play when you're ready to begin. You may want to download the attachments that are in Canvas so that you can refer to them as you're watching the video. This PowerPoint will be posted for you so you can revisit some of the items at your convenience. So what's our agenda? We're going to look at the format of the items and answer choices. We're going to compare the highest scoring items to the lowest scoring items. Look at the nuances of the test for all grades and especially Grade 3. And then look at some items that we need to notice for the grades. And then throughout this presentation, I'm going to be asking you, what is the impact on your instruction? One of the handouts that you may want to get is the text that's listed on one page. You might want to refer to the verbiage of the text to see how aligned the text is to the items, or you may use your scope and sequence. Also the release test. The district heat map. This shows you in 3 boxes the readiness standards, which are green, supporting standards, which are yellow, and the process standards, which are blue. These 2 SEs will never be tested on a STAAR test, 39C and 39F. Notice we have checkpoint 1 and checkpoint 2. Checkpoint 1 has the 2015 results of the STAAR that we took, and then checkpoint 2 is the 2016 STAAR results. So you can see if we've made any gains. If it's red, it's critical. If it's orange, it's caution. So we need to really look at those red and orange texts. Notice that we have made gain, however, such as 3.5b, we went from 47 to 51% mastery. On 3.4a, we went from 64 to 66. It's no longer caution. And then from 3.6c, 63 to 67. So you can see we've made some gains in our readiness standards. We just need to continue making those gains. We're going to talk about some ideas of how to do that. Also, you have the item analysis by campus. So you'll notice first we start with our reporting category. Then the student expectation, and on such as 3.2a, there were 2 items that covered this student expectation, item 13 and 27. In our district, in BISD, we scored 65% mastery on 13 and 81% on number 27. So you can see that there's a difference between number 13 because that is one of the ones that in our campuses struggled with in some cases. So you can see that item number 27 was easier for most of our campuses. So you might look at that text and see what part of the text was actually tested that was more of a struggle for some of our kids. Also, you have the 3rd grade STAAR district item analysis. As we look at this, we're going to look at each column and I'll describe it to you quickly. Number 1 is the first thing you'll see. M1 means reporting category 1. We have 4 reporting categories. Then you have the student expectation, and if it's an S, it's a supporting standard, and of course an R would be readiness. We have our process standards. Anything green is the correct answer. Anything red are the incorrect answer responses. So you can see, for example, when we look through these items, you might find an item such as number 11 or number 12, where we have our kids scoring 46% mastery, but notice they were confused with letter F because 24% of our students chose letter F, and letter J because 19%, or 20 actually, chose letter J. So what were the distractors in those 2 items? Or possibly did we really teach this item really well because we have a low score on it? Also, you might want to look at the very last row because that shows you the percentage of students who didn't even answer the problem. They left it blank. So always tell them to guesstimate. As we go through the presentation, we're going to look at these items mainly through reporting categories. Now, in third grade, we did really well with our reporting categories because the numbers are tight. So let's look at them. The best scoring item was reporting category was number 1, numerical representation and relationships, with 73% mastery. Reporting category 2 was our lowest, computations and algebraic relationships. You'll notice in some of these items that computations is the reasons, or calculations, are the reason that most of the kids didn't do very well on some of these items. So learning their basic facts is so vital to the STAAR test. Also, 71% mastery on geometry and measurement. And then for reporting category 4, 70% mastery on data analysis and personal financial literacy. So we're going to begin by looking at the format of items. There's 5 different formats. We're not looking at the answer choices. We're just looking at the question portion of these items. So there's 5 types. One is just a question. The second one would have equations or expressions in it. So it would have a narrative, then a break, then a list of numbers or an equation or expressions, and then a break, and then a question. The third way is possibly having a narrative and then a question. This could be all in one paragraph or it could be separated. The fourth type would have 2 narratives. It could be a narrative, a break, a question, a break, a narrative. Or it could be a narrative, a break, a narrative, a break, and then a question. The big focus on number 5 is that it would have a visual in the question. So it would have a narrative, a break, a visual, which could be a number line, a diagram, a table, graphs, any type of visual, and then a break in a narrative or a question. So this is the breakdown, and I've just abbreviated some of these for you, and you can see that you have an attachment as well that covers these items that you might want to refer to as we go through them. Now, as we go through these items, we're going to be doing this activity. We're going to just look at the problem in the question. We're not looking at the answer choices right now, and you're going to classify the problem as being one of these 5 types. Is it just a question? Does it have numbers, equations, and expressions? Is it narrative and question? Are there 2 narratives, and are there visuals? So let's look at number 2. What type of format would this particular item be? It's just a question. And the question is, which statement about the number 5,555 is true? Look at number 1. Number 1 has a narrative where it talks about the expanded number of a number shown. Then it has an expression, and then there's a break, and there's the question. So this is a narrative, numbers, equations or expressions, and a question. Notice number 5 doesn't have any breaks. Number 5 has a narrative and a question. So this is narrative and question. You'll notice number 9 has a narrative, then there's a break. Then we have another narrative, but notice this particular narrative has bulleted items. That is something that I've seen in grades 3, 4, and 5 that's a little new. We've seen more of these items. And then we have a question. So this is a narrative, and question. Number 3. You should have noticed that something really gave number 3 away. It has a visual. So we have a narrative, a break, a visual, a break, and then a question. So this is a narrative, visual, question. And again, it could be a number line, any type of visual. So here are 5 basic types. What do you think occurred most often on the 3rd grade STAAR math test? Which do you think occurred least often? Here are the results for the test. Number 1, question. There were 3 items. That's just 6.5%. Number 2, numbers, equations, and expressions. There were just 3 items. Again, 6.5%. Narrative and question. There were 16 items. That's the way most of the tests have been in the past, but that was only 35% of the test. Number 4, a narrative, question, narrative, 13% of the test. Then look at number 5. Were you surprised? Visuals, diagrams, tables, graphs, number lines, 18 items. That was a majority compared to the rest of the items, 39% of the test. So most of the test consisted of visuals or a narrative and an equation and question. So, what is the impact on instruction? How many of your formative assessments have visuals in the question? Now we're going to look at just the answer choices. What are the format of the answer choices? There's 5 types of answer choices. It could be numeric, which would be just a listing of numbers or a number within units such as 6 cats, 5 dogs, or it could be fractions. Number 2 could be algebraic. It'll have operational symbols such as in expressions and equations. Number 3 would be a visual. This could be a diagram, a graph, a number line. Number 4 would be a griddable response item. And number 5 would be verbal. You'll see sentences, phrases, or words. So let's look at number 41. Only look at A, B, C, D. What type would this be? This is algebraic. We can see the operational symbols that are in A, B, C, D. Number 39. This is numeric. We have numbers with units. Number 30. Number 30 has a giveaway. It's a visual. You can see the tables. Even though there's numbers in the tables, it's still a table, so it's a visual. Number 23. Number 23 may be a little confusing because there is a visual, but the answer, if you look at the very bottom, for the answer choices, record your answer and fill in the bubbles on your answer document. So this one is a griddable. But I do want you to notice that there is a graph in the middle of the question for the griddable. This was kind of a new format for a griddable. Okay, look at 34. Yes, this does have words, so this is verbal. It has sentences. So, what do you predict would be the most often used answer choice for 3rd grade? Which one do you think was the least one used? Numeric, there were 16 items, so it was 35%. Algebraic, 4 items, 9%. Griddable, there'll always be 3 griddables on a STAAR test, whether it's 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade, and that's 6% of the test. Verbal, there were 13 items, so this was more items for verbal than most grade levels. Notice the kids in 3rd grade need to explain their thinking, so there's a lot of sentences. So it's 28% of the test. And visual, 22% of the test. So there were 10 items. So think about how many items we had that were visual in our answer choices and how many visuals there are in our question format. So notice how important visuals are as well as verbal. So what is the impact on instruction and on future formative assessments? You have a handout that's in one of your attachments, and I'm going to just quickly go over and explain what it has. It basically is your answer document to the 3rd grade STAAR test. You'll see that it's sorted by readiness standard. So, by reporting category. You first see the item number that was on the STAAR test, then the reporting category it covered. Notice that all the ones, reporting category 1 is a salmon color, then reporting category 2 is a light blue, reporting category 3 is a mustard colored or yellow, and then reporting category 4 is green. These will be the same colors with the second document you'll see in just a minute. Then the third column tells you whether it's a readiness or a supporting standard. The next column tells you what content student expectation was addressed. The following column covers all the process standards. Then you'll see the answer for that particular item. And then you'll see the performance, our mastery on this particular item for our district. So anything green is good, anything red is low. So if you notice that this particular item, since there are 46 items on the test, you'll notice that 43 is a pretty good rating, and 45 is even better. 46 would be the best. So you'll notice that number 7 was the second highest scoring item, and we had a 92% mastery. However, our lowest scoring item is from the same reporting category 1. Our lowest scoring item is number 45. It is the number 1 lowest scoring item, and we had only 43% mastery. So remember, anything red is low and anything green is high. And of course, orange would be low and yellow would be better than orange. Also, I've taken those same abbreviations I used earlier for the item format of just the question portion, and then the answer format as well. So you can refer to this whenever you're teaching a text to see what kind of format was used in 2016 and what kind of answer format was used as well. And were visuals used. Now we're going to compare the highest scoring items to the lowest scoring items. So I want you to look at these highest scoring items and see what's the commonalities that you see between these items. These will be shown to you by reporting category, and you'll notice this is reporting category 1. We have 12 questions on this test, and anything that's highlighted yellow tells you that it is a readiness standard. All the items will have the reporting category first. It will tell you if it was the highest scoring in this reporting category, and then it'll tell you the text it covered, the percentage mastery that we had as a district, and then anything in parentheses tells you how it scored on the entire test. So this was the highest scoring item for reporting category 1, but the second highest on the entire test. So remember what we've been talking about, the format of the question. Notice this one has a visual, and then also the format of the answer choices. So as we look through these, think about that. Think about the type of question it is, and what are other commonalities you see. So I'll be quiet as you look through these items. So what do you notice about the highest scoring items? Most of these items were one-step problems. The visuals were easy to understand and to apply. The answer choices were short. The question stems were not very wordy. So now let's look at the lowest scoring items. They have the same format as the ones you have seen for the highest scoring ones. So what did you notice about the lowest scoring items? Most of these items are multi-step problems. The visuals are critical to the answer. The vocabulary was critical. Did you notice the one in pink that I highlighted for you, the vocabulary terms? Vocabulary is so important for our students with third grade STAAR testing. Also, the question stem was more wordy. So what is the impact on instruction? Some things that you might consider on how we can improve are whenever you select an activity, look at the cognitive alignment. Look at the text and pay special attention to the verb. If it says represent, we need to make sure that the activity is doing some type of representation. Also, vocabulary. Teach your vocabulary and refer to them throughout the lessons. Do some interactive activities with vocabulary. This could be a workstation. Assessment. Give open-ended questions to your students instead of multi-choice items. You'll notice that historically we've done poorly on griddable items, and they're more of an open-ended response item. So to raise your scores, it would be better to not do as many multi-choice items as it would be open-ended questions for your kids to answer. Lowest scoring concepts, you might have a workstation that just reviews concepts you've already taught, especially paying attention to the lowest scoring concepts. You'll notice that computation was one reason that some of the kids didn't do very well on some of these items, so make sure you stay on target with our basic facts and skills sheet. Problem solving, use UPS check. You don't have to do the 4 squares, however, make sure they know the critical thinking steps, such as for the understand, I need to find what, and then strategies, make a plan or select a strategy, write an equation, solve, and then check. Make sure you know that you found what you said that you were going to find. Here's a basic facts and skills sheet for 3rd grade. Notice that these are the steps, these are the stages and steps and items that we are learning in 3rd grade. It tells you what 9-week period each of these stages are occurring. Notice we have kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd here as well. The steps to memorizing these basic facts, stage 1, is procedurally knowing how to figure out the facts or conceptually understanding them. So here the kids are either using manipulatives or they know a procedure on how to find it. Stage 2 would be strategies. They have strategies such as doubles or doubles plus 1. Stage 3, they do it with automaticity. And we know in grade 3, we have to know our multiplication and division facts with automaticity. In grade 2, we need to know our addition subtraction facts with automaticity. So that is so important. So you'll see that you have your 9 weeks targets for each stage for these facts. Now we're going to visit some questions from the STAAR test. The question stems. You notice that this is a similar handout to what you've seen earlier. The reporting categories are the same colors. We have our item, reporting category, whether it's a readiness or supporting standard, the student expectation, and what our performance was on this item in our district. But these items have now been sorted by the question stems. So let's look at these question stems. Notice that the questions that start with how seem to be mostly in our blue category. So our blue reporting category is reporting category 2. So our how questions seem to come from reporting category 2. Also notice that we have quite a few readiness standards that are coming from that reporting category. Notice that we have a low scoring item when it has a question such as based on the graph. So something to think about. You can either stop the PowerPoint at this moment and look at these questions and analyze them using these question stems to help you, or you can come back to this later and look at these questions more carefully. Now we're going to talk about the nuances of the STAAR test. Not was not capitalized. It's just bolded in lowercase, as you can see in this item, as well as this one. the use of not was on this particular item was a little bit more rigorous, because it not only is not rigorous, but you'll notice we have different answer choices as well. So these various answer choices, that used to be taught mostly in high school, but notice we have it as low as 3rd grade. Notice that there's 4 possibilities, 2, only 1, or 3. So this type of a question is more difficult for our students. I've noticed that it's mostly in geometry and measurement that you'll see these questions in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Here's another example, number 44. Also, these questions seem to be a little bit more rigorous in some cases, having that bulleted item and then forming the number, creating it, you might say, so that the kids can find which number would fit with these particular characteristics. Also, decomposing a number, such as 867 to 500 plus 300 plus 50 plus 10 plus 7. This is a step to helping the kids regroup. Not here. This was one of the answer choices that you could see here at the bottom. Notice with this particular item, the kids also had a visual to help them to figure out area. Gridded items, we historically do not do very well on gridded items. It could be because it's an open response item, but in this particular case, notice the importance of vocabulary. Again, they have to fill out this entire diagram to understand the area, and it's multi-step. And notice that these have visuals in the gridded items. And they represent more than one. To help with griddables, it could be that it's an open response item that we're having a problem with, or it could be that the kids are still learning how to grid an item, especially in 3rd grade. If you notice, if you go into Euphoria to Mathematics Grade 3, then you go to Yearly Content Documents, go to State Assessment Information, and then you'll see at the bottom STAAR Practice Grids for Grade 3. Then in the far bottom, on the right, you'll see the attachment. When you click it, you'll notice that you have a page of griddable items. You can use your snippet tool to snip out these 1 or 2 of these and put them with your questions that you ask the kids. Now in Grade 2, you also have one available if you want to practice towards the end of the year. And notice that yours will only be 2 columns of numbers instead of 3. I wanted to share with you some items that I wanted you to notice that were tested a little differently, such as this one where the kids are choosing 2 sections that are quadrilaterals. That there are bulleted items and equations. Also use UPS check. You can use your close reading strategies with UPS check. When you do, you're going to be highlighting, using the annotation section when you're doing understand, highlighting in different colors portions of the problem that you will need to answer the question, or portion of the question. Notice not the entire question is highlighted, just the portion that you need. Here's another example of using UPS check, using different colors to highlight, as well as just to be able to know what numbers we're going to look at and use. This is only for the understand portion, mostly. Notice that number lines were on the test in different types of formats. Notice that whenever we have a number line and we're going in the same direction, we're usually either adding or subtracting. If we have one that goes in one direction and then turns around, that is definitely a subtraction problem. The only way we would be subtracting if it's going in the same direction is if the arrow is pointing in the opposite direction. 3.6c, multiplication. Notice there was a 2-digit times a 1-digit item. Use your reference chart. Have it available for the kids. Have it in their notebooks so that they can refer to it at all times. Notice that this particular item, the only possible answer choice was B, and it's the only one that's listed on your reference chart. There was more use of tables on this STAAR test. And vocabulary, of course, is so important. Terms such as characteristics, vertices, base, edge, polygons. Now on this STAAR test, if you'll notice, 14 items were not covered. That's 32% of the text. So if you do use this in preparation for STAAR at the end of the year, be prepared to also cover some of these SEs that were not on the STAAR test. And remember, you have 2 SEs that's not even part of those 14 because they never will be tested. So thinking forward for lesson plan design, as you design your lessons, effectively align the text to the depth, which is the thinking in the text, the verb that's in the text, and the complexity. So depth and complexity. Complexity, looking at concepts, the context, and the academic vocabulary. So look at depth and complexity of the STAAR without multiple choice practice or test-taking strategies. So some reminders: use your reference charts. Have them available for the kids. Use centimeter grid paper. Use those whiteboards that have the grids on one side, so that way you won't waste as much paper. Also, use griddable response items. Open response. We'll get more bang for our buck if we do that instead of multiple choice items. Use your UPS check posters and strategy posters. Make copies for the kids so they have them with them when they do their homework at night. Refer to those posters and when you're solving problems in class. Also refer to your vocabulary word wall and do some interactive word wall activities. You might even have a workstation on vocabulary. Whenever you introduce a new concept, make sure you introduce it with manipulatives, and then show pictorial models of it, and then you'll go to the abstract version. Thank you for listening to this presentation. Please contact me if you have any questions or if there's any way I can help you. Have a great day. Bye.